Pete Najarian. This is the take on this Thursday morning. And I'll tell you what, those of us here at Market Rebellion, it's been really, really interesting. Volumes have absolutely exploded to the upside. Why don't I hit that right out of the gate? When we look at yesterday, two things that stood out. We've been talking about volatility moving to the upside in a very, very rapid fashion. We talked about it was in the 21, 22 category, and suddenly we find ourselves now 26, 27. As a matter of fact, that was sort of the upper range yesterday and closed just off of some of those highs. But today, here we are, 26 and a half. So it gives you a little bit of a sense of the volatility that's going on in the marketplace and some of that shift and some of that movement. On top of that, how about the volumes that we talk about every single day, always for the right reasons? Now, this has been going on all through 2020. I'm hearing guys on television say, wow, volumes have suddenly started to pick up. That's not true. Volumes have been there. You know that. I know that. We've been talking about that for months and months and months. By the way, yesterday, 38 million contracts. We've been talking about seeing volumes over 30 plus million. Well, here you go once again, 38.4 million contracts trading yesterday. As a matter of fact, Apple, 2.9 million contracts, Tesla, 1.8 million contracts, Intel, 1 million contracts. Those are your top three. That's a huge number for any one of those three to be trading. And it just gives you a sense of how much activity we have been seeing. And again, we've been seeing this happening more and more and more. And I think you can contribute some of that to some of those splits because we've talked about Tesla a lot as well as Apple and the opportunities that have been created because those stock prices are so different than they were. And there's more opportunity now for people to be able to trade the size trades that they're looking for. All that being said, yesterday, what an incredible day. We talked about August being an unbelievable month, best month for August in 30 years. How about the start of September? Now, today's a little bit of a different story, but let's stick with yesterday really, really quick. So again, I mentioned it was very volatile. We talk about the NASDAQ all the time. It made some moves. It was shifting all around. It was down 50 points very early in the session after being up, but still finished at the final parts of the day. The NASDAQ absolutely took off. And take a look at the Dow. And the Dow leadership is what I think is the most important thing about yesterday. So we look at the Dow and the acceleration. There was definitely a dislocation throughout the day. We were watching the Dow that was outperforming and continued. As a matter of fact, in the final couple hours, adding about 200 points to get put to that gain at about 454 points, call it, yesterday. A very, very nice, big, powerful move. Closed over 29,000. And what was leading it? Was it Apple? It was not Apple. Was it Microsoft? No, it wasn't Microsoft. Your leaders were IBM, old school, Intel, old school. You also had Coca-Cola, which has been very, very solid and just moving to the upside and having a nice shift from the upper 40s into the low 50s. We've had Dow, we had Boeing, we had 3M, we had Honeywell, and then we had obviously some of the components that are in the healthcare world. A new one, as a matter of fact, Amgen joining the old one, Merck, to the upside as well. We also had financials working yesterday. You look over at Goldman Sachs moving to the upside, Wells Fargo having a very nice day, Bank of America, Citi, JP Morgan, all of those contributing to the markets themselves as the financials were participating. Industrials were up about 1.5%, maybe a little more. Materials and healthcare up about 2%. So that you see there is this big shift. When you look over at the NASDAQ, what was dragging the NASDAQ for most of the day, different parts of tech, but it did flip around and we did watch the semiconductors have a pretty nice day. That's not happening today, but yesterday, semiconductors were up about a little over 2.5%. And it was some of the old school names, the Microns of the world. We also had NVIDIA, we had Skyworks, we had Applied Materials, Lam Research. Those were kind of some of the names, but the names that were not leading yesterday were the names that you're more familiar with that have been the leadership role. Workday, Apple, Zoom, Tesla, AMD, Netflix, you get the idea. Now, today, a really, really interesting day because of the movement that we've already seen, what was going on a little bit in the pre-market and some of the indications. You never really fully can read too much into the pre-markets, but you can absolutely have some sort of sense. But it was the pressure that we were seeing on the NASDAQ. And that certainly was something that was exposed as soon as the bell went off today. We started to see some of the pressure on the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ's improved a little bit, but early on, the NASDAQ was off about 230 points, call it close to 2% to the downside. It was off 180, then it pushed to 200, then to 230. Now it's back about 200 points to the downside. But on the positive side of things, we were looking over at the Dow. The Dow's in positive territory. The Dow's up 25 points right now. And why? I think a lot of that, some of the contribution from financials, industrials, but the financial strength today, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, American Express, very nice start today. I looked over at the XLF, that's trading up about 1.5%. So you've got financials up about 1.5%. You've got technology down about 3%. You have semiconductors down about 3%. So you can see what's really pulling on the Dow today. And in the markets themselves, I mean the NASDAQ. But a little bit on the negative side of the Dow. Salesforce now in the Dow. That's pulling on it. Apple a little bit. Microsoft a little bit. Tesla, Skyworks, Zoom, Juniper, those kind of names definitely pulling on the NASDAQ. You look over at the semiconductors and it's a little bit of a wide participation. You've got NVIDIA, which has been everybody's darling. You got Lam Research, Qorvo. You got ASML. Oh, and even some of the old, the zooming type names, a name like PayPal, which has been a fan favorite, it seems like, just moving to the upside. But a lot of those fan favorite type names today definitely pulling back to the downside. Where you are seeing a little bit of strength balancing this whole thing out, you've got airlines, hotels, casinos, and cruise ships all trading pretty well today. As a matter of fact, a little bit of unusual option activity in one of those cruise ship carriers, but that's not where I'm going. I'm going to stick right with what seems to be working, at least early on today. An unusual option activity that we're seeing, Boeing. And take a look at Boeing, and it's had a nice performance. We bring it up when we talk about some of those various industrial stocks with Caterpillar and 3M and Honeywell and all those kind of things. But Boeing trading right around 177.5, right in that range. We had a big buyer. Now, this plays into the theme that we've been talking about, and when we've been explaining so short term. It's Thursday. Today is the 3rd. These expire Friday, the 4th, not next Friday, this Friday. So extremely short term is what people are looking at right now for Boeing. 23,000 calls at the 180 strike being bought there. They started at about $2, went up a little over $3. Something to keep an eye on. It's very interesting, and I just can't express this enough. This is short term. This is ultra short term. This is Thursday with something that's going to be expiring tomorrow. And yesterday we had some unusual option activity. I talked about the halftime report. They were at least going out a week. They were going to September 11th, next Friday. So we are still seeing plenty of activity that's expiring this week, this Friday. And this is just one of many names that we've seen this week that the buying has been there, but I think you just always have to have a little bit of caution, understanding as much as you possibly can how short-term this trade really is. Now, I just mentioned understanding. You've got to understand the mechanics of the options world. That's the starting point. You can't just jump in. You have to have an understanding. You have to have an education. You have to understand the mechanics, and that will give you an opportunity, not a guarantee, but an opportunity to have some better success. And I'm convinced you'll have more success the more educated you are. It's the true in any aspect of life. Got my Giddy Up shirt on right now. Got my great guys over at the Minnesotan who do an unbelievable job contributing to our Lyme Foundation, the Twin Cities Lyme Foundation. We're trying to give people awareness. We're also trying to get people early diagnosis. It's something that my wife is passionate about as a woman who went through trying to figure out what was going on for a period of at least 16 years where she was undiagnosed, finally got diagnosed, and now she's doing much better. But it is a very frustrating thing because it's the big imitator. Lyme disease can look like so many different other diseases and get treated like those other diseases, but it's not. It's actually Lyme disease. So very, very important to us. September 12th, we got a virtual gala. You can go to the TwinCitiesLyme.org page to check that out. It's going to be great. Matter of fact, Market Rebellion has done a sponsorship role, and thank you to all my partners at Market Rebellion for agreeing to do such a thing. It's really great. I think it's going to be awesome, but there are many, many great packages out there as well that are live auction items. They're actually live even right now in terms of if you go to the events page on the TwinCitiesLyme.org site and click events and then go through the process, you can see what some of those live auction items are right now, and you can even start bidding right now if you wanted to. So very, very excited about that, and hopefully we can raise a lot of money because there's a lot of people waiting to get diagnosed. It's a very expensive process, so hopefully we can raise more money so we can do more to help people, not just in Minnesota, but around the country that are absolutely involved in trying to be a part of the Twin Cities Lyme Foundation. Folks, have a great day of trading. It's going to be an exciting one. I'm going to leave you with this. The Dow flipped. Dow was up 25 just minutes ago. Now it's down 70. The S&P down about 31. NASDAQ down about 220 points right now. Very, very volatile session. We're trading at about a 26.5 VIX right now. We're 1.5 hour into the trading session. Expect it to be a very, very wild ride day, folks. Have a great day of trading.